The Adams Polishes Wednesday live video. We're back on mobile, so it's going to be vertical this time. So it's probably better viewing experience on like a phone or iPad. Might look okay on a computer, but we're having some issues with the horizontal with the camera. It wasn't syncing the audio. Some tweaks we got to make on that to do it more consistent. So just do it on mobile for now, just because I think it's a better experience for everybody. Anyways, today we have this Subaru, and this person's car, they sideswiped either a pole, another car. Hopefully it wasn't another car, because then that's an insurance claim. But as you can see, there's some like very deep scratches here, but there's some paint transfer. And with something like this, I know I'm not going to be able to get maybe all of this, but we can at least make it look better. So if this is something that happens to you or happens to a friend, family member, this video will be a good kind of tutorial on like how to make this look better. And one thing I will say is, like, I know that there's like where you really see the black in here, that's like to the plastic bumper. And so I'm not going to be able to remove some of this stuff. And if anything, what I would do, and I didn't have a chance to do it, is get touch-up paint and then maybe fill this in to make it like even less obvious. But some of this paint transfer and these like really deep scratches, we can at least like fix for the most part, just to make it not as like glaringly obvious that you hit somebody or hit something. So, and
just make it less obvious.
Kinda, yeah. You'll still very much see it, but you know, I think what the idea is here is to like reduce how obvious it is. And then like beyond that, then you would, like I said, touch up paint that would then fill in like more of these black spots where the paint's completely gone, and then there's like a treatment for that as well. And you know, you can get touch-up paint from the dealership. They'll have like exact color match to it, which is the most recommended. But there's like another company called Dr. Color Chip. They're a great option for doing this kind of stuff as well. So we've done some Dr. Color Chip stuff here. You know, as long as you're standing 5-10 feet away, it's not as obvious. When you start inspecting it, it's very obvious. So just having realistic expectations of what happened here. And I think the good thing for this car is most of the really bad damage is in the bumper. So if anything, you know, you could take this to a body shop. Like we have a guy here locally, his name's Ozzy. He would repaint this and it would look brand new again. It happened to Chris's car actually. And he painted it, he painted the hood, and it's like, you can't even tell. So, but for right now, we just want to try to reduce the appearance of this as much as possible. Now remember, live video, questions. If you guys have questions about anything, don't hesitate. This is the time to ask. This is the time for me to answer. Just want to give you guys an inside feel to Adams Polishes. And not to direct you away from Adams Polishes, but I do want to say the Rag Company, which are some great friends of ours, they just did a long like podcast interview with Adam, the founder of Adams Polishes. They also did a thing where they toured his personal garage. And those two videos are on their page, and it's really cool to check out. You know, obviously like Adam's a great guy, but you get a really like in-depth version of his story from where he started to where Adams Polishes is today. So make sure you check that out. I watched the podcast episode today. It was really good. Obviously, it's always fun to see Adam and hear from him, but make sure you check that out. So, all right, so first things first.
Jose says, how comfortable is that chair for polishing?
How comfortable is this chair? I mean, it's the most comfortable. This is the Viper chair, and this one has the back to it. So extremely comfortable and a little bit more pricey. It's all made in the USA in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And this thing adjusts up and down, but everything's made out of metal and premium leather. So, you know, the fact that it has the back, like you'll see if you come in here on an off day when we're not filming, because I don't work very hard. If you ask one of my coworkers, this is what I'll be like right here. Boom. It's like a nice, doesn't really recline, but got the back support, which is very nice. And the big casters, so a little bit easier to go over like cords. Not perfect, but I keep telling them they should put shark wheels on this thing. If you've ever seen shark wheels, they're shaped really weird. They roll perfectly smooth, but like they can go over any cord like with ease. It doesn't even feel like you went over it. So, but anyways, all right. So first things first, you always want to start with the least aggressive and then kind of make your way up from there. So first, what I'm going to do is a clay bar. So I'm actually going to use the Visco clay just because it has the texture to it and the geo impression tool. So this does like a little bit more work for kind of a medium / fine grade clay. But what we can do is really see like how much, if there's anything we can remove with the clay, that you want to start with that, not even a question. So we'll start with the clay. Of course, detail spray is a clay lube. So and I don't know if you noticed, if it's easy to see, Chris, but I kind of did 3 or 4 sprays. If I do this and douse it, it's going to make the clay glide too much. You want to just use enough clay to where it's still somewhat grabbing, but still gliding a little bit. So I kind of hold a little bit away and give it like 4 or 5 sprays as a mist. And then it kind of makes the clay definitely like more effective. So then we just rub the clay over the surface. And all I'm trying to do is see if I can remove really anything. And for this step, I might not even be able to remove anything. It's just, I don't want to start with the most aggressive. And then, you know, if you're too aggressive and you cause damage, you can never bump it down. So if you're the least aggressive, yeah, you can see there's stuff coming off on here. And you can even see some of these black specks. So it's doing something. So I'll just give it a couple more sprays. But if I start with the least aggressive, I can always like move my way up versus, you know, starting too aggressive and then fight my way. I mean, it's to a point where I might not even be able to remove everything. So that's why I start with the clay first. And by the way, this whole car needs to be clayed like desperately. So I would probably have done the whole car already before I get into this. So I'll set this aside. We'll wipe this off.
Broncos 88 says, "Hey Joe, can you use strip wash with some iron remover in your phone?"
Oh, that's actually a very good question. Broncos 88. That means this person must be either a Idaho State fan, Broncos, or a Denver Broncos fan, and they must have been born in 1988. So I'm proud to say I'm older than you, unfortunately. But can you use iron remover with strip wash in a foam cannon? You can't. You can use strip wash in the foam cannon, and it's highly recommended. But what happens is, if you add iron remover to it, the thioglycolate with the soap mixture aerates, generates the foam, and the surfactants inside of the soap will actually surround the thioglycolate, which ends up making it not work on the car. So spraying iron remover directly onto the car is one of the only ways to make it work. I mean, we've tried, I mean, I can't even tell you. You could ask all of our R&D people. We've been trying to make an iron remover soap for 3 years, maybe more, and not once has it worked. I mean, they put thioglycolate as much as you could possibly put it. I mean, the soap for a 16-ounce bottle would cost $50, but still, with that concentration level of thioglycolate, that's the stuff that when it hits the metal, it turns purple. We put as much thioglycolate in there as we could, and it still did not do anything. So spraying it directly on is the only way to really use it. So, you know, I just go through that process where you foam the car down with strip wash, wash it, and then I like to do it in sections when I do iron remover. I don't like rinse the whole car off and then spray the whole car with iron remover, just because you don't want that to dry all the way on the car. So I'll actually just like rinse a portion. I actually like to dry it. I'll just take like a drying towel and just get as much water off, because I want the thioglycolate going on to the finish and not like it dilutes it when you have water on there if you haven't rinsed it off. So I just take a drying towel. It doesn't have to be perfect. It could be all streaky with water, but get as much of the water off and then spray iron remover on and then rinse it off. Then move to your next section. So I wish it worked because it would make it a little more efficient, but it's not really the right way to do it. And another pro tip, I guess you could call it, is I'll spray iron remover on. This is after I've rinsed the section and then dried it with the towel. I'll spray the iron remover on, and then I'll take the visco clay or clay mitt, and I'll just use the iron remover as my clay lube, because I want to remove not only the iron fallout, but I also want to remove the paint overspray, tree sap, all the road tar, like all the bonded contamination. So I'll actually use the iron remover as like my clay lube. As long as the clay can glide on the surface, it's gonna work. And so I actually have I was gonna say a movie. Could you imagine a 3-hour long movie about iron remover? I have a video on YouTube here about doing the iron remover process, but like using clay during that. And it works really good. And the thing, I don't know if, I'm sure I've talked about this before, but iron remover is sort of designed for a very specific thing. Like, the thing about iron fallout, iron contamination is a lot of times it's just sitting on the surface, but most of the time it's actually embedded itself into the paint. Like it's like shrapnel that goes and sticks inside of it. So if you imagine this is the painted surface, you have like paint overspray that sits on the top like this and road tar and things. Iron remover is actually, there's some that's sitting on the surface like this, but a lot of it's like inside like that. And so
The iron fallout.
the iron fallout, yeah, it's like inside the surface. So even if you clayed the car with detail spray and clay, a clay bar, and you wiped it off, you would still see orange specks because the iron starts to rust and it turns orange, but it's actually like you sheared off the top portion of it with all the paint overspray and everything, but it's still inside the paint. So iron remover, you then spray on there and it starts melting the iron particles that are stuck into your paint. That's the purpose of iron remover. That's why you do iron remover. So, the way I used to do it was I would obviously clean the wheels and tires first, engine, exhaust tips. Then I would rinse the car off, foam it down, wash it with my wash pad, rinse it off, re-foam it, use the clay mitt on the whole car. And then after I did the clay mitt, then I would do my iron remover treatment because I'm trying to get the stuff that's either sticking out of the paint or the paint overspray, tree sap, bonded contamination, get that off first, and then the iron remover attacks the iron that's stuck into the actual paint. So that's kind of the purpose of iron remover. And I'll say this, if you don't clay it first and you spray iron remover on, it turns crazy purple because it's attacking both the iron particles that are in your paint, but also that are sitting on top. So what I really am trying to do is like the iron that's sitting on top, I can get that off with clay. So do that first, which is way easier, and then attack the iron that's stuck into the actual paint. So, okay, so after I've done clay, which, gosh, this feels so much better. You can actually hear like having clayed up there, and I have clayed down here. So gotten a lot of the stuff that's stuck on the top off. Now, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to polish this first. We'll see what we can get with this. So when it comes to a project like this, you start kind of peeling back layers. So we did clay. I got a lot of bonding contamination off, but it didn't remove, it did a little bit, kind of remove some of this stuff, but now what I'll do is I'll start polishing, and this might start correcting a lot of this, but I might even need to bump up to sanding, which I might have to do coming up here. But, if you're going to compound and polish, you kind of need compound and polish. So give me 1 second. Yeah. Can use iron remover in an IK foamer. Anytime you foam iron remover, it's not going to be effective. So instead of an IK foamer, I would use the IK multi-sprayer, which doesn't foam it. Kombucha break.
Ken Wilson just bought a 2010 Tacoma 4x4 last weekend. The dealer put in, is this called A60 graphic ceramic coating on it? I think graphic advanced ceramic spray coating. Oh, it is. So can you put graphic advanced over a third party?
Oh, Mr. Ken Wilson, who's going to be here at the end of this month, he bought a 2010 Silverado, he said? Tacoma. Even better. No, I like Silverados too. But the dealer had put a graphene coating on it, you said already? And then he did graphene ceramic spray coating on top.
Or he's asking if he can.
Oh, he's asking if he can. Ken, you can do whatever you want. There's no rules in car care. No, there is. But yes, you can. So anytime that there's even like a non-graphene ceramic coated car or a graphene ceramic coated car, you can put any of our coatings on top. The reason being is that a standard ceramic coating is a silazane based coating. And so our graphene ceramic coatings are a polysilazane and reduced graphene oxide coating. And so when you put it on top of another coating, the silazane bonds to the other silazane, and or silazane and reduced graphene oxide bonds to the silazane and reduced graphene oxide. So yes, you absolutely can. So any type of car, like let's say you guys, some of you guys on here own a detailing business, like Anton and some of the Mark Dressel, some of the other people on here. Sorry if I'm forgetting your name. It'd be a long live video if I named everybody. But if you get a client that comes in and their car has previously been ceramic coating and they want to refresh, what I recommend is like go through your whole prep process and everything and get the car to where the client wants it. That may mean polishing, compound and polishing, or maybe it's just a one-step polish. And then you can put any of our graphene ceramic coatings on top. So don't get too caught up with, oh, it's not the same thing. They're not named the same thing between competitors, but the raw chemicals themselves are pretty close. I mean, you can't have a true ceramic coating without it being a polysilazane base. You just can't. It's not possible. So, so you got to make sure that, or it doesn't matter, competitor, non-competitor, whatever. You can do whatever you want. So.
He added, I watched it recently and I'm not impressed with the performance of the coating they used.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Coatings from the dealership probably aren't what they are telling you what they are. It's pretty deceiving. I mean, they're trying to save as much money. So they might say it's a graphene ceramic coating, but it could just be. I mean, I don't even know. I couldn't tell you more than 2 other competitors that have graphene products. So, I mean, realistically, they could just be selling you a graphene product and it's just like a paint sealant. I have no idea. I mean, you didn't apply it, you didn't buy it, you didn't go to, they didn't go to a reputable brand like us that's like pretty transparent with what we're doing. So, not trashing anybody, I'm just saying that it could be fairly deceiving. So, I would say, Ken, like, it might be a graphene coating. I couldn't tell you, but if anything, I would strip wash it, because if it is a sealant, it will take it off. And, depending on the condition of it, you may want to polish it anyways. And if you polish it, it's going to take it off as well. So, just kind of think about what you're trying to achieve. If you want your coating to go on to the clear coat, you may need to use strip wash and polish it before you put that on there. So, okay. So one thing I'm going to start doing this. There's a couple of things I'm going to talk about, but I just put compound onto the blue foam pad. I always start with the blue foam because I don't know how aggressive I really want to get here. So put this on here. I have it on speed setting 4. Turn this on. So I'm already noticing it's taking the paint transfer off instantly. So watch this part right here. When I go over it, you'll see it corrects it pretty quickly. Ooh, pretty much done. Whoops. Look at that. The cord failed. Right here. That's perfect. And the reason why it's perfect is because that's exactly why we design these machines like that. If it was a fully corded machine, I'd have to switch polishers, but all I need to do is take this cord like this. And this is a pro tip right here. If your cord's not working, you just throw it in the trash, okay? All right? And then you call us and you say, hey, my cord doesn't work. And we say, oh my gosh, Mr. Wilson, no problem. I'll just get you a new cord out to you here pretty quick. What? Yeah, I'll take questions whenever, Chris. I'm not.
Rocky says about 2 months ago he graphene spray coated his entire car, and now he wants to use graphene glass coating.
Okay.
You have to remove the spray coating before using glass coating.
Kinda, yeah. So, spray coated the car, you said?
Yep.
Graphene spray coated the car. Wants to put the graphene glass coating on.
2 months
Do
ago.
I need to? Oh, he coated it 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Wants to put the graphene glass coating on the car. Do I need to remove it to put it on? The answer is yes, but one thing I will say is it's going to be fairly difficult to remove the coating from the glass. You'd have to polish it off. But naturally, what's going to happen is that your wiper blades are going to abrade that off. That's why we came out with the glass coating versus just putting the regular coating on. So what I would say is, since it's only 2 months down the road, I imagine your windshield's still beating water. So when I say the regular ceramic coating is not going to last as long as the glass coating, it's because your window is porous, because windows are glass, which is technically ceramic, not ceramic in the sense of protection, but what it's made out of, and it's porous. So it's like, you know, there's pores to your glass. So the regular ceramic coating, whether it's spray or not, sits on top like this, like a veneer kind of. I don't know if veneer is the right word, but it's just like, it doesn't penetrate the pores, right? And so your wiper blades will abrade that off pretty quick. I'd say like 3 months, depending on how much you're using your wiper blades. Once and generally you can kind of see where it is. Like, you know, it's kind of like the half moons of like where your wiper blades go. Like when your car's dirty, you can really see it. The coating, you'll be able to see. It will look darker on the portion that hasn't been abraded off from your wiper blades. And really, that's the most important, to have graphene glass coated. And so what I would say is just enjoy the hydrophobic properties of the spray coating now. Once you start to see it get flat, or like, you know, you need to start using your wiper blades more often, then do the glass coating. There's like no rush to do it right now. I know it might seem like it, but you know, you already kind of have it protected. So just like, you let that work through it, and the coating's going to come off a lot faster on your windshield than it will on the paint. So once you start to see it, or it starts to get flat, then not to say don't buy it now, but like, then go to adamspolishes.com and get the glass coating, just because you know, there's not a big rush to like get to that point. So and I actually, just so the reason why I can speak to that is because I have experience with that. I spray coated my windshield on my car, and I actually noticed that it wore away, and that was actually I kind of brought that up to the attention of our chemist, and then he developed the glass coating, which the glass coating actually penetrates the pores, so it ends up lasting longer because it doesn't get abraded away. It does get abraded away on the top surface, but because it penetrates the pores, then it is fine. So I'm going to keep going on this. I'm actually going to move up to this section, but you can see I've already done like quite a bit of work here, and now just like where the actual paint has been taken off is like really the only spots that are left. But there's still some of this up here and right on this crease right here. So I'm gonna more focus on this section. Chris, what generation are you?
Millennium?
You're a millennial?
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, I'm like in a weird spot. I don't know if I'm millennial. I think technically I am like 1 year in.
I think you're on the border between millennial and Gen X.
Isn't there like a gap year?
I don't think so.
Anyways, I was gonna let everyone know this car has a very sophisticated security system in it. It's millennial proof. It's a stick shift. So even though I'm a millennial, I got the training. So it was funny. We were like, I had to move this out because I cleaned, these tires were like gray almost. They look really bad. And I was like, I got to clean those. And I was like, got to move the car outside. And Chris is like, it's a stick. Can you move it? I'm like, man, we got to teach Chris how to drive a stick. It's way better.
I mean, in my defense, the driver of this car is younger than me.
Yeah, there you go.
Actually, that's not my defense.
Okay, so you can see like a lot of the paint transfer is gone now. So it's looking a little bit better, but it might be kind of hard to see. I could try to put a light on here. This might not actually, it helps a little bit. So essentially what happened with this car is, it's not really help. I mean, maybe. It's not helping all that much. I need like this, there we go. When you see the spotlight, you can actually really see it. So if you find this, like right here, Chris, if you can find the spotlight and show right here with the spotlight behind it, even though it looks better, it's like where this car hits something, you can almost, it's got to be like in front of it over here, like right there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like it started scratching and then they like got closer to whatever they were gonna hit, and then it like ripped the paint off. So what I want to do is I'm actually gonna sand this a little bit because I want to remove the deep scratches that I can actually correct versus just leaving it for now, because and actually you can really see it right here quite here. I'll go like this. It'll be a lot easier. You just have to move the camera this way.
Yeah, you can totally see that.
So you guys can probably see that now on camera, but essentially what I'm going to do is I'll sand around these areas where the paint's completely gone, and even like right here is really bad too.
Jose Vargas says, why not use scratch and swirl remover first?
The reason why I'm not using scratch and swirl remover, I mean, you can, but I don't think everybody's going to have the tools I have here. You know, and I'd say, you know, based on sales data, more people have polishers, but the polisher does more work in a shorter amount of time, you know. So if I did this by hand, it would do like pretty good, but I would end up having to move to the polisher anyways. And so that's why I didn't start with scratch and swirl remover first.
And scratch and swirl remover is meant for by hand, right?
Yeah, scratch and swirl remover is by hand only. Yep. If you think of that hand polishing system, scratch and swirl remover is like compound, and then hand polish is like polish, the white polish. So it's like designed similar, but they just, anything by hand, you're just not going to get the results you're looking for. I mean, you can a little bit, but like it's not that close.
After a serious workout.
Not even after a serious workout. I mean, you can do hand polishing, not get the results, and then skip the gym. But you're not going to get it. I promise you that. So now I will say this though, and Jose brings up a good point. If this was just paint transfer, you know, like, I have that on my wife's car actually. She has a white Volkswagen Atlas 2021. My son, he had this baseball net that it would like bounce back to him, and it's blue. We had it storing in the garage because it was rusting, and he pulled it out and he absolutely dragged it all along our car. There's like, it looks like someone used like the same kind of chalk they use on new tires. It looks like that on the paint. And so with that, I don't need to necessarily polish it. I could just use scratch and swirl remover and hand polish and make that look perfect, because the paint transfer is going to be really easy to take off. But the thing about it is I need to polish and ceramic coat the whole car. So instead of doing a hand polishing system in which the machine polishing system is going to do the same thing, if not better, I will end up just doing the machine polishing system, but I'm going to do the whole car. So think about it like that. If you're doing spot treatment, hand polishing is okay. But if you're end up going to polish more of the car, machine polishing, hands down, is the way you need to go. So I'm going to get into some sanding here. And we have a scratch removal sanding kit. And it comes with 3 types of sandpaper. And actually, one of these doesn't look correct.
Casey says, thanks for helping my car out.
Yo, Casey.
Join the chat.
What's up, Casey? Well, Casey, thanks for bringing us your car, because this is like the perfect thing to do for a live video. So I really appreciate it. And I'm forcing Chris to have to work extra, so he's going to be doing more work. We're doing more work than just this. We're going to do some more stuff. So I hope when you get it tomorrow, you're happy with it. But anyways, sanding kit comes with 3 things of sandpaper. You get 1,000 grit, 2,000 grit, 3,000 grit. And in the kit, this is actually like lime green, not yellow. We have a bunch of sandpaper here, so I just grabbed this one. But I'm actually going to start with the 2,000 grit sandpaper. And it comes with this handle.
He said perfect. He deserves it.
Oh, yeah.
He deserves the extra work.
Absolutely. He can't just sit upstairs and edit videos all day, you know? Like, you got to get his hands dirty a little bit, even though he's going to wear gloves. So. But anyways, it comes with this handle, this interface pad, which is like a little foam pad, and then the sanding. This foam pad it's a little bit more forgiving. Like if you turn it on its side or put too much pressure, it will absorb a lot of that, and then your sanding disc goes on top of that. And this isn't like all a strong hook and loop, it just barely goes on, but perfect for when we do this. So I'm actually gonna sand, like when you do sanding, you sand with the scratch, not against it. So I'm mainly gonna be working in these directions here, and I'll just start here and then I'll move here and I'll probably come down here. So take the 2,000 grit. Make sure if I'm even, this might be an old sanding. I might need to go grab another. And when I'm sanding, I don't need to, like what a lot of people I think want to do is go like this with their finger. It will make it very uneven. And so like, even if I sand all the way out here, I'm okay with it, because I'll end up polishing over this and make it look perfect again. So I'm just sanding like this, and I'll come down here and sand right here. So you can see, as soon as I swiped it, this is the part that's showing the paint, but you can see the scratches all right here too. So what I'm trying to do is get to the bottom portion of that. And let's see, might need to grab a different disc here in a second, but I'll keep trying with this. I think this one had been used. I'll be back in 1 second. Any more questions, Chris? If not, it's not that big of a deal. I do have to say, at the end of the last week and into the weekend, Adams County, which is, I think Adams Polishes is in Adams County, they had their county fair. And the fairgrounds is right next to my house. And it was amazing. I took my kids to the fair for the first time, and they loved it. It was awesome. I love a good fair. I don't know what it is about the fair that I love, but I do love going to the fair. So, giving you a little bit right here. I'm barely using the weight of my hand just to try to reduce the appearance of this a little bit.
Mark Dressel says, Joe, will you be joining the team at Corvettes in Carlisle?
Mark Dressel, probably not. Mark asked if I'd be joining the team at Corvettes at Carlisle this year. As much as I love that event, I've been traveling quite a bit recently. That's why we haven't been doing the live as often. Last week I was in Detroit actually meeting with some folks from GM just to learn how to expand our GM line and some other things. And so because I've been traveling so much, it doesn't leave a lot of time to go to events. So I have a couple more trips coming up. So I think I'm kind of out on events for the rest of the year except for SEMA. So I'm not too worried about it.
David Boyce says, Joey, missed it. What did you use to remove the paint transfer?
What I use to remove the paint transfer, I use the SK Pro Mini 12 millimeter with blue foam and then compound like that. Worked really good. Now I know there weren't any more 2000 grit sandpaper over there, so I had one that's 1500. And so I know with our polishing system, I can remove the 1500 grit sandpaper, and actually I'm gonna use well, no, I'm not gonna use this now because I just dropped it on the ground. I'm pretty careless today, you guys, this is bad. But I'm gonna use the wool pad and compound. I just need the fibers of the wool pad to just cut through the sandpaper a little bit more. So same thing, I'm just gonna do the same thing I did with the blue foam pad. All I switched was, I sanded, but all I switched was the pad. Compound's the same, speed's gonna be the same. So bump this on. Now the purpose here is to remove these sanding scratches, and then we'll fix that. A little bit haziness. It might not be easy to see on this white colored car, but on a dark colored car you see haziness from the compound and the wool pad. You fix that with the white polish. So. Now, I will say this, and I'm going to keep going on this here in a second. I'm just going to brush this out. See how it got matted down? Just take the pad conditioning brush, turn this on, set it on top for a second, and then voila, your fibers are back ready to work again. But I will say this. When you're doing something, like I'm doing this more spot treatment, so it's just like little focused areas. I'm not like polishing the whole car. When you do this process, make sure that you don't, I think natural instinct would be to try to hang out and attack a scratch for a really like long time with the polisher. It's going to heat up the paint. And so if you notice while I do this, like I have every intention of polishing over here, but I'm going to start here, work it in, do a few passes, and then I'll bump over here. I don't want to focus this pad and the compound, everything in one area and really heat up the paint. You want to kind of be like moving. And actually, I started over here before. I didn't start over here. So I want the full power of the compound here now. So I'll start on this side. The size machine I'm using is a 12 millimeter throw orbital polisher, but the backing plate is 3 inches, and then the pads are 3.5 inches wide. What? Why would I use this instead of a 15 millimeter? The reason why I'm using this instead of a 15 millimeter is because this polisher is better for like spot treatment, but mainly the reason why is if you look at this car, especially where I'm working right here, there's so many different flat panels on this. Like there's one here, extends over here, there's one 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 here, a curve, and then a whole nother one up here. This polisher can fit into all these flat panels. The larger polisher, like our 15 millimeter with a 5-inch backing plate and a 5.5-inch pad, would just be too big for like this section right here and this section right here. So this machine mixed with these smaller pads give me more versatility to correct specifically this car, or, you know, mainly cars of this size, you know. So cars that are more sedan size like this and more modern cars are going to have more curves and more panels. So a 12 millimeter polisher just ends up being a better option for that. But if this was like a Silverado, you know, or like a Suburban or like Yukon, I'd probably use the larger machine because, listen, larger machines mean more surface area. So like you can get more work done in a shorter amount of time. But for versatility, I'm using this machine instead. So when I look at this, and actually I'm just gonna wipe this off really quick. I'll use a little bit of detail spray to help wipe this off. I don't know if you guys can see this. You see that right there? There's still a lot of the detail spray on here.
Yeah.
That's because this towel was used to wipe off ceramic coating. So like this towel is almost like hydrophobic, kind of. Okay, so that's why I like to keep, like the towels I use to wipe off graphene ceramic coating, I keep together because they don't perform as well as a towel that you didn't use to wipe off ceramic coating. Whereas this one, like I wiped it and it wiped clean, perfect. So I would just say, like when you're doing all this stuff, you know, we have like a lot of great resources here. We have bags, we have these things called Acidio crates that are plastic crates, look beautiful, and they have like different sections. Use those, label them, and make sure that you know where, like at my house, I have my cabinet. In one section of my cabinet, I have all my ceramic coating stuff, and the towels I use to wipe off ceramic coating go back into that cabinet. Whereas the next cabinet over, I have my detail spray, compound, polish, and I have towels in there that have not been used for ceramic coating, so I keep those towels in there to make sure they perform the right way. So I think, as you can see, the 1500 grit sanding scratches are, we'll just make sure. Yeah, the 1500 grit sanding scratches are gone. Okay, so, man, you look at the flake in that, Chris.
Yeah.
Looks like some like really cool nail polish. Actually, no, I lied. I removed it from up here, but I can still see it right here. it looks kind of textured.
Yeah.
So that means that I need to keep going with this compound and wool pad. Let's see, it's right here. And actually, in this instance, I have twice put compound into this pad. If I keep putting compound into this, it'll load this up and it's going to make all the fibers gunk up and it will not be effective. So I'm just going to take detail spray and give it 2 sprays like that. I'm going to put this on here and you can still see how much compound is left in the pad.
Because it's so blue.
Because it's so blue. So I'll just see all that compound. I will say this. I don't know if this person's watching. I apologize. I can't remember your name.
Casey.
No, not Casey. When I was in Detroit last week, Charlie, who runs our customer service, him and I were out there, and we had been. It was recommended that we go check out this area just north of Detroit called Birmingham. It's almost like. It's kind of like the high-end area of Detroit. And there was we drove by and we saw this really cool cigar lounge. They serve food and drinks, but they had like a big humidor. So we're like, oh, I'm a cigar smoker. Not all the time, but I enjoy it. So we're like, oh, let's go check it out. So we went into the humidor, we're hanging out. I'm trying to school Charlie on some cigars because that's all I do in my life is just teach stuff. But anyways, we're looking at some cigars and this guy comes, he like kind of comes around the corner. He's standing like this and he's all, are you guys filming out here? Are you guys filming here? And I was like here specifically, like in this cigar bar? And he was like, no. Like, are you filming? Like, he's like, I see your hat. It's like Adam's Polishes. Are you guys filming out here? And I was like, oh no, we're just here for a meeting with GM. And he's like, I watch your live all the time. And I was like, what? No way. And it was really a cool interaction because it was like the last place I would have thought to meet somebody that watches the live. So it was a really cool experience. And if he's watching, I can't remember your name, but it was really cool to meet you. And thank you for watching. So that was really cool. Okay, let's check this now. That should have done it. Oh, heck yeah. Go this way. The scratches are kind of still there. Not in some areas. Other areas they are. But that's so much better. So I'll follow this up with polish. I'll move up. This area was like very obvious. Had a lot of paint transfer up here, and you can see it's like perfect now. You know? And I mean, with white paint with flake like this, it just hides everything. So like I don't even know if I would necessarily need to do polish, but I think just for good measure, I can see some of the micro scratches from the compound. You will not be able to see it inside the cell phone camera, but you know, I think for me, like, and I hope Casey feels the same way, is like, it's obvious, but it's like not as glaringly obvious. Like there's not paint transfer and all this other stuff. It's just where paint has been fully taken off of the bumper. And so I'm going to polish this right now. One thing I absolutely am not going to do is ceramic coat this. I think normally you would want to do that, but I would want to put touch-up paint on this. So if I ceramic coat it and I try to put touch-up paint on there, it will not adhere around the surface. And especially if I ceramic coat over this plastic stuff, it definitely, the touch-up paint won't stick in there. So what I'm going to do is I'll do the white polish, and then probably what I'll do is I might even look to see if I can grab some of this touch-up paint like on my way into work tomorrow morning or when I leave tonight, and then I can touch this up, polish, maybe sand and polish over it again, make it way less obvious, and then Casey can pick up her car. But it just depends on availability of the touch-up paint, like through a Subaru dealership or wherever. So I'm gonna try to figure that out. But as you can see, like all of the paint transfer is gone. Some of the scratches that left behind, like a little bit more minor scratches, are gone as well. Some of the deeper scratches are not as obvious, like this one. A little bit more, less crazy. But you know, where it really like pulled the paint off, it's like still pretty obvious. So to make this not, you know, I don't know if you'd, it would be tough for like, I think most people would be like, oh, you got road tar in your car. No, I hit somebody. Sorry, my name's Casey. Here's my insurance information. But, you know, to make this less obvious, putting touch-up paint on here is going to be the best option. So I'm going to try to figure that out. But I'm going to go ahead and polish this here in a second. It means polishing's same thing as compounding. All I'm going to switch is the pad and the polish. I'll use the white foam pad like this, and I'll use the white polish like this, just to get it, you know, fully finished essentially as much as I can before I put touch-up paint on there. And yeah, so, you know, I hope the process I explained today was helpful. I mean, the thing about car care is like a lot of it's pretty similar, like taking paint transfer off, fixing deep scratches. Obviously you can implement things like, you know, sanding stuff and maybe heavy cutting compound. You know, like this paint's pretty soft. If this was a Volkswagen or BMW, Mercedes-Benz, I probably would have needed to use our heavy cutting compound because it'd be harder paint. And so just realize we have like a lot of tools on that. And actually, I think next week, you know, we have this VIP program here at Adams Polishes you can sign up for. We're going to launch a video next week that we essentially break down our whole machine polishing line, from the very basic stuff, like your basic kits with a two-step system, to the more advanced stuff. And then we go through like which machine is best for you. That was kind of a question today, actually. So we talk about like each machine in depth and like which kind of demographic it works best for. And we even give a little explanation on one-step polish, which I think is a very confusing product. And so that video will be out on the VIP next week on Monday, but then on Thursday next week, we'll drop that live on our YouTube. So look out for that video next week. I think my goal with it, I even say in the video, is like, by the end of this video, I'm hoping you're an expert on this as well, you know, and if anything, if you're kind of on the fence of getting a machine polisher, you just don't know where to start, that video is going to be a great resource to understand, like, what is it do I need, what do I not need, type of thing. So, or maybe which polisher I need. So I hope today was helpful. It's kind of a little bit more unique process again. We've kind of had that the last few times we've done the live video. So next week, I think next week I want to get back into some ceramic stuff. I think what I'd like to do is maybe talk about how the regular the graphene ceramic coating advanced in the little bottle and the 12-ounce bottle of the spray can work in unison together to coat a car. So you know, there's different tricks of like, you can actually use the spray coating as a removal agent for the super concentrated version, and then also like the ability to spray the spray coating versus not being able to spray the small bottle. So we'll get into that, and maybe I'll even, before we get into it, if there's a car, maybe I'll do it like today, but I'll put some ceramic coating on some cars and leave some high spots, and we'll talk about how to remove those. So so thank you for watching. we'll probably keep doing this on the phone just because I think it's definitely easier for us. I know it's kind of a bummer for you guys. And just so you know, like YouTube does not if you film live videos on a phone on YouTube, you cannot turn it horizontal. It literally does not let you. So we wish we could, but unfortunately we can't. So anyways, I hope to see you guys next week. And I think there's a BOGO sale going on right now. So make sure you check that out. And the team's working on some really cool upcoming stuff. So, here in the next month or so, I mean, gosh, it's like August already. That means Black Friday is around the corner. So we got some stuff in the works that I know you guys will like. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week.